sad thing for me is we always have to be inside the disaster to get ready. That's it's a very world trait, but it's particularly a UK trait. We only start to take it seriously when we can basically film the fire from our door. And that has to change.
We've been following the French wildfires throughout the programme as thousands flee the Bordeaux region, but not everyone is able to get out. Prince William has tweeted on his X account that the wildfires hitting Spain, France and the United Kingdom were a stark reminder of the challenges posed by an increasingly extreme climate. Now, Rebecca Papin is an American currently staying at her holiday home in the area. We heard from her yesterday. We wanted to check back in with her today. Very good morning to you, Rebecca.
Good morning.
What updates have you received in the last 24 hours?
Well, before I say anything else, I want to say that the conditions have deteriorated this morning. So I woke up to the sky full of smoke. This is the worst that the sky has looked since Friday morning. My home smells very strongly of smoke, and the air is quite thick with smoke outside. I cannot see very far away in the distance with the forest.
Okay. And have any authorities given you updates on kind of that escalating situation?
There have been no updates that have been given to me. However, I've been following social media, and they said that they contained the fire near Biscarrosse last night. However, this morning, like I said, it's the worst I've seen it outside.
How are you keeping updated? Is there some kind of official governmental channels that are making sure residents in the area get the information they need? Or is there people on the ground who are going kind of door to door for those people in the area?
I found the City of Biscarrosse's Facebook page where they post periodically updates in French, and I've been getting my information from there and from an Instagram account called Bisca Grand Lac, which is sort of covering not only Biscarrosse, but the cities to the north and the south. They're putting the government updates on that page. So I've only been following those two accounts. That's where I've been getting all my information from.
Okay. And what's your plans now?
For the moment, I can't leave. I'm waiting for the roads to clear. The moment that the roads clear, I would go. I'm meant to be flying home to Tennessee tomorrow on Aer Lingus via Dublin to Nashville, but as it stands, I don't see how I'm going to be able to make my flight.
And what provisions are you making at the moment? You just said, the situation's deteriorated. The smell of smoke is permeating throughout your house. What have you done? Is there anything that can be done?
I'm quite concerned this morning, I won't lie. I think I might start packing suitcases. I have small bags packed, but I may go ahead and pack the big suitcases. And I'm just waiting to see what happens with the situation over the day. I have no information that's been given to me currently. I don't know why the sky is so full of smoke right now.
And just update us, why were you not able to get out initially when lots of other people did leave?
So I was not around when the evacuation happened. And it's interesting because I thought I had slept through it. I thought it had been when I had my earplugs in. But when my neighbor returned yesterday, she told me that the evacuation actually happened Thursday at 10 p.m. Thursday at 10 p.m., I was still at the beach with my children trying to figure out what to do. So my street was cleared at a time that I was not home. So I thought I had slept through the evacuation, but the evacuation had already happened at 10 p.m. on Thursday night when I was still at the beach.
How did people find out about the evacuation in the first place?
They went door to door and they knocked on it until people came out. And apparently they knocked very loud. And my neighbor said there was no way to ignore it. But I didn't hear it because I wasn't home.
Right, of course. Well, look, Rebecca, I know it's a really stressful time. So thank you for taking the time out just to update us and just to have a chat with us. Obviously, we wish you all the best. We're rooting for you and do stay safe.
Thank you.
EU officials have described the situation in France as a race against time as firefighters attempt to contain wildfires close to Bordeaux before another heatwave hits Western Europe over the coming days. The fires seen in France and Spain have been described as unprecedented, with warnings that these conditions could last for months. We can speak to Lucy Easthope, an advisor on emergency planning and disaster recovery. Morning, Lucy.
Good morning.
Is there any argument to suggest that once these wildfires have sort of burned through, that actually some parts that have been affected should be left in the state they are in so as not to provide fuel for future events?
Well, land management is a huge part of prevention of future fires, and certainly what I think you'll see across the world, particularly across the UK and Europe, will be a discussion about how we manage that land. But also to remember that so many parts are also homes and built upon. I'm chatting to people at the moment affected by the Los Angeles fires. This is a very, very slow recovery. It's not a fire in an area nobody's in. It's very, very important that we remember that there are people and lives here.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So when it comes to prevention, what does prevention look like?
Well, I think one of the things that I'm very worried about in the UK is that part of wildfire prevention is very strong and cooperative dialogue between agricultural practices and the government. And it's another reason why we need to reset our thinking around farming. The other thing in my line of work is that we are now inside the wildfire disaster. It is here. Yeah. And so it's tooling up, it's skilling up. It's very interesting, linking to your earlier discussion. It's resourcing the emergency services and those around them, like myself, who are emergency planners, to be ready. We are seeing massive funding going into equipment, and there's been a lot of discussion of the type of equipment we will need. We are no longer in the EU civil protection mechanism, so we are not quite sure what mutual aid we would get from Europe. We certainly would get a lot less than when we were in it. And so one of the things that's very interesting is watching how the European countries are working together, and indeed they would support Ireland in this.
Yeah, one of the things at the moment seems to be a concern about the lack of air support, Lucy, and indeed France has called in air support for these sort of water bombing aeroplanes and aircraft. Is that something that we should be investing in? Because are they really the only way? I'm thinking, for example, in Scotland, of the Cairngorms wildfire over these last few days, a fairly inaccessible place, but actually the only way to get to them is by air. Do we need to be thinking about that?
I think we do. One of the things that emergency planning works on is a terrible concept called the tombstone imperative. So only when we see enough loss of life normally, or in this case, loss of land, do we see government impetus to reform the way we're going to fight something. So I'm expecting the next year in fire and rescue management to be conferences about the type of water aid we will need. And I expect to see quite a lot of innovation. As I say, the sad thing for me is we always have to be inside the disaster to get ready. That's a very world trait, but it's particularly a UK trait. We only start to take it seriously when we can basically film the fire from our door, and that has to change, because something like these events will become very, very commonplace.
When it comes to personal responsibility as well in these situations, so yes, we shouldn't have a campfire on dry ground. I wonder if that message gets through clearly enough. How much personal responsibility do we have, though, beyond that? It feels like something that is so out of our control and that is so big that actually it demands a government response.
We make the difference, so no lit lanterns at celebrations, no fireworks, be really, really cautious with single-use barbecues. All of that is definitely personal responsibility. Our second personal responsibility is about making sure we've got the phone alert if it's safe for us to do so. If you're in a domestically violent relationship where you have a secret phone, please turn the alert off, but everybody else, the emergency alert. Have a 10-minute plan in the household for an evacuation order. That's personal responsibility. Bigger than that, definitely, when we're doing local elections, when we're doing by-elections, when you're holding your local MP to account, ask for their position on emergency planning. It is our responsibility. Under various governments in the last few years, it's become thought of that, where emergency planning is done is at local government, and they have traditionally been seen as, not deserving of funding. This is an area where we can all ask for better preparedness. Wildfires is something that will come to us all. It doesn't need to be remote. We've seen it take out parts of Essex and parts of London in the past. We don't need to be thinking this is somebody else's problem.
Yeah. Lucy, it's fascinating speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Lucy Easthope, who is an advisor on emergency planning and disaster recovery.